Investing could be a lot of fun at times. Today, I wanted to talk about a small company that's fairly unique and has a potentially exciting future. And that company is Bit Digital. Bit Digital started as a cryptocurrency mining company, mining Bitcoin, also working within the Ethereum network. That market at times has proven to be really profitable and really goes up and down based on the price of Bitcoin as well as Ethereum. Overall, this company's been a successful Bitcoin miner and has gone up and down. Now, I wasn't overly interested in just pure play Bitcoin miners. I have been an investor in Bitcoin for some time, as well as Ethereum, and I've followed this market. I'm an investor in Coinbase as well. And at times, I was an investor in other coins just to get really familiar with this space. I do believe that the future of cryptocurrencies is pretty bright and undetermined in a lot of ways. Now, what got me really interested in this company is that Bit Digital became a high performance computing player. Why is that important? The whole AI revolution is built on high performance computing, the use of GPUs, graphical processing units, that really accelerate the building of large language models and accelerate these AI builds. It's also the original use case for GPUs was gaming. The other market that Bit Digital is going after is gaming companies that are cloud based gaming companies that need high performance computing to power their gaming platforms. Now, Bit Digital is not a one trick pony. It's not just a Bitcoin miner. It's really diversifying into high performance computing, which is really exciting. What's also exciting is this is a tiny market cap company. And I found it and actually found me on our investor conference call. One of the community investors came up with this stock and we looked at it. And the more I dug into this company, the more interesting it got, to the point where I spent a few hours analyzing the company this past Sunday and invested in the stock on Monday ahead of their earnings. They announced their earnings, and I'll share what I'm seeing in their earnings and what I plan to do with this stock going forward. I'll run this stock through my valuation, which is based on free cash flows and earnings per share. I'm also going to look at their gross margins. That's really important. The desirability of a business is, are they very profitable? Is their industry very profitable? Do they create a lot of free cash? That's why the most valuable companies on the stock market are worth what they're worth, is they generate a lot of profit, they generate a lot of free cash, and they keep growing. That's no secret. It's a very simple recipe for success in being a big cap player. So I'll take a look at Bit Digital and see what I think the stock is worth and share with you what I plan to do with this stock. And before I get into my analysis, let me thank the participant, Brian, for bringing this stock up. And I hope that other community members join either the investor conference call that we have each week or get on a live stream and bring ideas on stocks you think have a really exciting future, because this one's really off to the races nicely on a Tuesday morning. This stock is up 18% at this moment after their earnings announcement. I just listened to their conference call. I really liked what I heard and will share with you why I like this company in my desirability quadrant phase of this video. All right, so enough said. Let's take a look at this company. So Bit Digital over the past year is up 38%, and that includes a nice rise today of over 17%. And it's really been fluctuating between, I would say, 15% and 22% this morning. This is a small cap. This is normal for a small cap to be bouncing around so much. Where it's going to settle today, I don't know. Maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower. But over the past year, it's been a nice reward to investors. Over the last 5 years, you see really, really drastic volatility. A couple of years ago, Bitcoin was in the 70,000 or so price range, and Bitcoin miners were just, going through the roof. The one thing I would mention is they were a $25 stock when Bitcoin was in the 70,000 range. Now Bitcoin is nearing 60,000 and it's expected it's going to rise. But the stock price is only a fraction of what it was before. And I'm going to get into their fundamentals and their profitability, which I'll show you that they're very profitable. The margins are very good. So this to me seems like a misunderstood stock once again. I don't think the price is being the stock price is aligned with the true value of the company. This is my first kind of suspicion that, hey, this company is misunderstood and worth a lot more analysis. So Bit Digital is only a $515 million market cap company. So it's a micro cap. They have $86 million of revenue, and they are growing very fast right now. Very good to see the company grow. They're profitable. They generate free cash flow, which I'll get to later. Their PE is nice and low at 13, and their forward PE is 10. What's interesting is small caps, especially micro caps, have been left behind. The current market is really excited about these massive cap companies, Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft. The market can't get enough of them. And these tiny micro caps are just being left way behind, but they really have a lot of value. Analysts agree with that statement. They believe that this stock is discounted by almost 72%. So I'll take a look at their reports in a minute. When we look at their financials, and I'm going to look at their released financials so I can show you some details that I'm seeing that is really important. But their quarterly is growing at 200% plus. Okay? It's rare to find a company growing that fast. Anybody growing at 200% is going to really change their business fundamentally. If they can grow at this rate for a couple of quarters, they've tripled their revenue run rate. They've tripled their cash. They've tripled their profits. They loaded up their balance sheet with cash if they are profitable. So it's really exciting to see the company really just take off. It is still small. Their quarterly revenue is 29 million, but again, growing at this rate, they can quickly get up to about $1 billion market or revenue run rate company. And I think their valuation would really take off. I'm not going to look at the cash flow using stock analysis because there's some detail that I'm going to get into that is important to consider when looking at this company. Their balance sheet as well. What I would tell you about generally accepted accounting principles are used for publicly traded companies. Generally generally accepted accounting principles is a concept that's been around for decades. I'm going to guesstimate for 60 to 80 years. So it's a very established, traditional methodology, and it's important. They should all follow it. But this company is in a brand spanking new industry, and a lot of things they're doing just are completely alien to GAAP, which is generally accepted accounting principles. And that's where I'm going to pick those pieces out of GAAP and put them in my valuation because I could see it best, or better, I should say, because I do understand Bitcoin mining. I do understand cryptocurrencies, and I do understand GAAP. I was educated in accounting. I graduated in accounting. I did accounting for publicly traded companies. So I know GAAP, and I also know the cryptocurrency industry. I also know high performance computing to some extent. So I'll be able to grab some numbers that are stuck in GAAP and bring them out because they truly are cash items or balance sheet items that are misclassified from my valuation technique. So I'm looking at their financial statements and I'm jumping straight to the cash flows because I love cash, and that's the most important statement that I consider in a statement in the financial statements that a company produces. Now, traditionally, the company is shown as having negative cash from operations of $30 million, and then they have capital expense of $5.5 million. Using GAAP, which is appropriate, that's how the company would be classified. Now, I know that when they mine Bitcoin, the value of that Bitcoin is very liquid. You can take Bitcoin and turn it into US dollars immediately. 24/7, you can turn it into US digital currencies, USDCs, immediately, 24/7. But GAAP doesn't treat cryptocurrencies as a real cash event, which is, I think, behind the times to some extent. Now, GAAP isn't going to change because of the cryptocurrency industry, but I'm going to take that $37.9 million of digital assets mined and put it back into cash because I think it's appropriate. And the same thing with the staking credits that you get on Ethereum. Ethereum, you can convert to US digital currencies immediately, 24/7. So I'm putting those two numbers, which are significant, back into positive cash, which has been taken away, therefore making the cash from operations much lower than what I believe is correct from an investor's perspective, not an accountant's perspective. I'm trying to make money. And if you give me Bitcoins, I'm good with that because I can sell the Bitcoins immediately. I can convert them into something else. I could very easily transfer those coins over, no problem. And the same thing with the balance sheet. The balance sheet, if you look at GAAP, classification of cash and cash equivalents, it'll exclude digital currencies. Well, I'm including those digital currencies because those digital currencies are very valuable in my universe, and I'm the investor putting my money on the line. So that's the technique that I'm going to use in my valuation. So let me go over gross margins that Bit Digital is having. So first, their most historic business is the digital asset mining business. It has gross margins of 46%, which is very good. But what's exciting is their highest growth area is high performance computing, and their margins are even better at 62%. Very good gross margins. And staking has a 94% margin rate on that itself, but it's a tiny part of the business. I'm most excited about their high performance computing business. If they grow that part of the business, it's going to generate high profit, high cash flow. So, what do I think BTBT stock is worth? Well, I'm going to look at their cash flows that I expect and value those cash flows to arrive at a per share value of those cash flows. I'm also going to look at earnings per share and arrive at a value based on earnings per share, and then blend the two forms of establishing value. Now, looking at free cash flows, I've taken their cash flows and I've added in the digital currency value that they generate because I believe that's cash. And I added it back to the positive column. Took the first half, doubled it, and then grew it by 40%. And in each year for the first 4 years, I'm growing it by 40%. This is a high growth business. You saw their margins. And I think that's, a conservative cash forecast. And overall terminal value, cash flows beyond year four, will be about 316 million. That's based on a 5% growth rate. I'm going to discount by a high discount rate of 12% because it's a smaller company. It's more risk. I want a greater return. When I take the net present value using a 12% discount rate against those cash flows, I get to $219 million of value out of those cash flows. I add the cash equivalents, digital currencies on the balance sheet. It's 192 million. When I add those two together, because there's no debt, that's very good, no debt, I get an equity value of $411 million. Their current market cap is 515 million. So overall, there's about a 20% premium if we look at this cash flow forecast compared to the current stock price. Now, it's normal for young, small businesses not to really crank up the cash flow just yet. They're really focused on growing that top line, establishing market share. So it's not a deal stopper for me. It's not a showstopper. Let's go to earnings per share. Earnings per share is expected to be 42 cents earnings per share in the current year. I'm going to use a P of 24. I could easily go higher because it's such a high growth rate, but I'm going to go 24. I'm not expecting their earnings per share to grow. I'm actually expecting it to come down a bit. Even when I really tone down that earnings per share forecast, the stock per share value is $7.06, which is 102% above their current stock price. So it's being discounted quite drastically on the earnings per share side. Very interesting. When I blend the two and I put more weight on the free cash flow method, I get a 21% discount on this high growth company. How desirable do I think Bit Digital is? Well, I look at companies and put them into one box within a quadrant of types of companies. There are thousands of companies to pick from that one can invest in. There's companies that I believe are in the green box that are really desirable. Companies like Microsoft, great barriers of entry, a strong moat, really profitable, growing, generating tons of cash flow. There's companies in the red. These are businesses that just have too many competitors. Think of retailers like Macy's. And Macy's been around for 100 years. They're competing against retailers that are trying to sell, garments and products that are quite commoditized. They're also competing against Amazon, which is an e-commerce giant. Just so much competition that they make very little money, very little cash, and are always being threatened to go out of business. So I don't want to stay out of the red zone. And then there's companies in the gray, these gray boxes, which are good businesses, maybe not growing a ton, but they are very investable if the right discount and right momentum is in place in those industries. Now, Bit Digital, I would say they do have competitors. They do have other cryptocurrency miners within high performance computing. They have competitors there from other hyperscalers. I totally get that. Now, I do believe that they have a lot of know-how within operating GPUs. Their big Bitcoin mining and Ethereum operation is very profitable, very solid business, and they're getting off on the right foot with high performance computing. So all those things with their high growth rate, high margins, I really put them in the gray, but have some in the green, believing that they are going to have a very good growth trajectory, will be a significant size company in a couple of years. Having said that, I'm going to buy shares of Bit Digital. My investment isn't that much at this point. I see myself investing maybe about $5,000 overall over the next couple of months on pullbacks. The stock's really rallying today, so I'm probably not buying shares today, but I may buy more stock into this company. I like what they're doing. I think it's a very well solid business that's operating well. I could see this stock really tripling in value over the next 5 years, if not higher. So I want to be a part of that. As time passes, maybe in a couple of quarters, I may increase my investment in this company, but it'll be with more analysis and more numbers that are being reported after a couple of quarters. So just a reminder, I'm just an investor. I'm not recommending you buy Bit Digital stock, sell it, trade it. I'm not recommending anything at all. I'm just sharing my experience with you. And I hope you found it interesting. I really appreciate you watching. Good luck investing for the remainder of 2024.